Hello, World Wide Web. I'm Shado, the internet personality of the best hair. You may remember at the beginning of this year when I reviewed Dungeons & Dragons, I mentioned that there was a sequel. I forgot to mention that it came on the Blu-ray that I got the first movie on as well. Yep, like most films I review, it was part of a multi-pack. However, there are some stark differences between the first D&D film and its sequel, Wrath of the Dragon God. For starters, only one character from the original remains, and instead of a theatrical release, this was a Syfy made-for-TV production. Which means a budget even lower than the first, and the pacing was at the mercy of commercial breaks. And then again, we all know that the first D&D movie certainly left a hell of a lot of room for improvement, so how did they go about making this one? Produced by Courtney Solomon and directed by Jerry Lively, Dungeons & Dragons Wrath of the Dragon God sought to correct the biggest complaint about the original, that being the fact that the film had next to nothing to do with D&D. The plot flowed similarly to an actual campaign, with magic working exactly as it's supposed to by game rules. The heroes are recognizable character classes, and the solution to the introduced crisis lies in several dungeon crawls. Huh. Sounds pretty fucking awesome! Hey, how did this movie rate? 3 out of 10. By IGN? When the hell did they start reviewing movies? Oh, like I even listened to other critics. Or IGN. Nevertheless, let's take a look at Dungeons & Dragons Wrath of the Dragon God and see if that reflex save was successful. Well, if the opening credits are anything to go by, this already looks a hell of a lot better than the last one. The character sheets in the background is kind of a cheap game reference, but aside from that, the setup is a lot better.
Ages ago, an evil artifact was created. An item so mighty in my hands, it would unleash a nightmare onto the land.
Yeah, it's about as cliche as you can get, but still, it's better than going against dozens of established game rules within the first 5 minutes. After wading through a few more minutes of watching the player's handbook burn amidst LARPing and not particularly stellar CGI effects, we learn that this is in fact Bruce Payne, back again as Damodar.
As my pain ends, theirs begins.
How a swordsman lackey became a powerful wizard after being dead for a century, I don't know. Well, actually, maybe that blue lipstick was sealing away his magic power. He doesn't wear it anymore.
The orb of Valerius is mine. What chance does Ishmir have against me now?
I'd say a pretty good one if you don't stop thinking your plans out loud. This Ishmir he speaks of is the obligatory nation of Good and Plenty, which, despite being peaceful and welcoming to various races, somehow is still populated almost entirely by humans, such as our big hero, Mark Diamond, playing the role of Barrack, lawful good human fighter. Despite his character sheet being the least impressive, he's actually one of the bigger actors on this movie. He's still behind Bruce Payne, but at least he's done more than 1 or 2 things before this. We are also introduced to a much less important character, Valerius, played by Vitautas Rumsus. And I hope the fuck I pronounced that right.
Fetch that rusty blade of yours and let us settle this in the battle circle. Unless, of course, you prefer that I come up to your chamber.
Is he coming on to him?
Where we might joust with,
Don't say sausages. Don't say sausages!
quills?
Whew! As it turns out, Barrack's an old fogey, way past his prime at 31 years old. Even half-orcs don't age that fast. They duel as he aims to prove that he still has what it takes to best anyone on the battlefield. Which he does, because Valerius didn't slit his throat when he had the chance.
You let me win? Why?
Fucking DM fudging the dice rolls. If there's no risk, there's no fun. He tells him that it's a lesson to know when to quit the world of fighting, which an old-ass 31-year-old like him should realize already. Get into a nursing home or something. More important than his waning masculinity is his magi wife Melora, played by Clemency Burton Hill. And no, there is no huge class barrier between magi and the commoners, and despite Damodar's reappearance, that particular plot point isn't brought up in the slightest. Thank Pelor. Which is something she ought to be doing, as somehow she just found out that these obviously effective clerical magics happen to draw from the divine source, as opposed to wizards' and sorcerers' arcane abilities. So wanting to impress the council, she seeks to control said divine magic. All dungeon masters may facepalm at this point.
Tiok ma do. Devonium doc uvana.
Okay, fucking up by not praying for the magic is one thing, but come on, it is a basic rule that arcane spellcasters cannot use divine magic scrolls. The two of them accept their mediocrity. Right before a foreigner rushes into the noble's quarters, as is common in Ishmir, he's in desperate need of help as 2 men in his village have gone missing after entering a nearby cave. When the fuck did he cast the Discern Important Characters spell? Nevertheless, he follows, no questions asked, leaving no notification as to where he's gone or what he's doing.
Poison gas.
Don't be such a pussy, it's just a smoke machine. After clearing the path with the magic of, magic, Barrick wastes no time pulling the second half of the title out of the dungeon.
The colossal black dragon sleeping in the heart of Hearth Mountain.
Must be sleeping pretty fucking deeply for you to be able to do something like that without being eaten. Hey, wait, are you sure it's the black dragon? I mean, that was poison gas. Green dragons breathe poison gas. Black dragons breathe acid. Just saying. So as the danger is very real and very big, the solution must be found in a bunch of old books. And so half the kingdom could be burning down and the mages would still be gathered trying to decipher Harry Potter. As the ancient books of plotline are jumbled, she figures a vision spell can decode them.
What do you need?
4 sticks of ivory and some incense. The expensive kind.
Hold up. What level mage are you, and you don't have a spare spell component spout kicking around anywhere in here? Negative 50 experience for Melora. The spell of foreshadowing doesn't do much for answers, but it sure comes in handy later. Something happens, though.
What happened?
I don't know, you tell me. You screamed and the table exploded.
I'm not sure, but it looked like a critical spell failure to me. Did you roll a 1 again? So while her vision is of no help, fortunately the random way the books fell onto the floor revealed that for 1,000 years, this group of mages somehow never solved the easiest puzzle in the history of the world. And so was born Megatome. I don't look so surprised. Every D&D gamer has at least one of these things kicking around. Of course, the 4 books were also the 4 elements of nature. Going by alchemy, of course, and Advanced Dungeons & Dragons is one thing, but the periodic table is a whole other beast. They study it into the night, until being awoken by Mr. Monkeyrod, Oberon, played by Roy Marsden. Hey, wait. He is certainly a more experienced actor than anyone on set. It's funny. IGN said that outside of Bruce Payne, the entire cast was a bunch of nobodies. Nevertheless, he is the head of the Council of Mages, and is very interested to learn the truth of the strange tales he somehow caught wind of. Melora explains the plot, that there's a black dragon god of undeath sleeping in a mountain who just so happened to destroy the ancient civilization, but they sealed it as their last act before destruction. However, its stirring signifies it's close to awakening by the next new moon. It strangely sounds very reminiscent to a few of the kaiju films I've reviewed.
Where did you hear such tales?
Yeah, we're on that giant frickin' book that glows with powerful magic that you should be able to sense. Yeah, in there. Oberon decides to try his own spell to discern the location of the orb that sealed the dragon god. Completely ignoring the fact that the last spell to be cast on this thing kinda ended up like that. This time, however, Demeter is nice enough to speak directly to Oberon, detailing more plot points for us.
My master, Profian, cursed me to return as a corpse creature should I fail him, which I did not!
When? Kinda missed that part.
He was killed before the damnation could be removed.
I don't blame this on him. You died first, remember?
For 100 years, my sole companion was unbearable agony.
Wait, so Marlon Wayans was with you? In any case, he points out that he has the orb, and will use its power along with the soon-to-be-freed dragon god to kill the fuck out of everyone like a good villain. Therefore, with the fate of Ishmir and indeed the world at risk, they make a choice.
I wish to summon 5 of Ishmir's greatest heroes. A party small enough not to alert Damodar to its presence, but strong enough to take the orb from him.
Alright, first you're gonna need a tank, of course.
I should start with Lux.
Barbarian. Good choice. The fuck? Oh, please tell me this isn't the rogue that's coming with you. The motherfucker doesn't even know not to backstab from the front! He had it coming. Okay, you're definitely gonna need a healer as well.
For wisdom, there is Dorian, a cleric of Obid High.
Best healing class in the game. Alright, you're gonna want some arcane magic for versatility.
There's always Ormelian.
Of course, the elf wizard.
Wizard! Has to prepare her spells ahead of time, but she can cast more per day than a sorcerer. Alright, finally, you should really think about getting...
If secrecy is the goal of this quest, no one is more stealthy than Nim.
The rogue?
You've done this before. Plus himself, that makes 5. While this was a pretty disorienting way to introduce most of the main cast, to be honest, it's an extremely familiar setup to an awful lot of Dungeons & Dragons games, and all things considered, they didn't do too bad of a job translating it to film.
To the Council of Mages goes the task of discovering how to place the orb back into suspended animation. Without that knowledge, its recovery is useless.
Or as IGN put it, a completely pointless subplot. Because you don't want your hero's actions to actually be effective at saving the world. Yeah, I know I keep bringing it up, but seriously, did they even watch the fucking movie? While I'm at it, may as well mention that the guy who reviewed this movie said this was the best used reference to Dungeons & Dragons games.
What do we have tonight?
Drow.
The two Dark Elves having their blood drained is the best reference that Dark Elves exist. Not the spells being cast properly, or module names being referred to as actual historical events. Nope, it's that Dark Elves are a thing. Anyway, it's adventure time! They march forth to a goblin village to find the map to Malik's vault, to find the pool of sight, so they can teleport directly to Damodar's location and secure the orb. Damn. He has done this before. After they head out, we learn that his wife hasn't quite recovered from the failed vision spell because Damadar somehow convinced the DM to place a curse on her character, causing her body to rot from the outside in.
When the corruption reaches your brain, you will die, and then be reborn as one of the undead.
And the reason you haven't brought her down to the temple yet is what? You people know damn well that in this world, healing magic works! Though maybe it would be a waste to heal her, as her affliction is coming a bit slower than the new moon. On with the adventures, a strange event causes Dolan to be trapped under a log while off screen. Stranger still, Beric is the only one to hear his cries and come to help.
How did this happen?
How do you think it happened? This damn tree fell on me. Come on, get it off me.
And as usual, he does not realize that the swearing cleric, whose face is fluctuating in and out of existence, is not normal. This obvious trap introduces us to Clax the Lich, played by Arimus Milesius.
Most recently, I have been experimenting with a spell to disintegrate one limb at a time. Let me show you how far I have progressed.
Damn, not only is he going to be horrifyingly and slowly killed, but upstaged on top of it. Of course, the rest of the party return from their Mountain Dew and Cheetos break just in time to save his stupid ass. Except the cleric, who it turns out has been hanging out by the raft the whole time. He does make himself useful, activating Turn Undead on their recently summoned pursuers at least.
You should have known better, Beric.
I agree. You've shown you've clearly played this game before. You mean to tell me you've never had to deal with an illusion spell? This encounter was even worse for the party than it seems, as the Lich actually knew Damodar's address and comes by to warn him of the adventurers who seek the orb.
Let them think in their ignorance that Ishmir still has hope. It'll make it all the sweeter when they are torn to pieces.
So bad guy can crush good guys at any time, but doesn't because... entertainment! And, Lichy Lich, when the hell did you learn that they were after the orb? You attacked them and they ran away. At no point were they discussing this subject. Dungeon Master, are you fucking up at keeping separate player knowledge and character knowledge? But the heroes finally reach the goblin village that holds the map to Malik's vault. However, as the Goblin Union charges too much for their services, they were all wiped out before the party ever arrived. You know what this means. Loot all the huts. And show off the rogue's usefulness, as despite this being a pretty low-tech setup from low-intelligence creatures, they happen to have a deviously elaborate trap waiting for them.
You saved my life.
Well, lady, you're a barbarian. You've got full hit points. Without a spike of that size would even do enough damage to give you a limp. If it did, it wouldn't really matter because you got a cleric, remember? Good thing, too, as after securing the trap, what would happen to show up with the very creature that wiped out the village in the first place? Probably back to check if the mobs had respawned. This beast being a white dragon, while it isn't exactly the design of the official Dungeons & Dragons artwork, it's at least different in ways that make it look unique instead of generic. At this point, Dorian uses the epic power of faith to defeat the beast single-handedly. Fuck is up at High, the god of apathy? Too little too late, but Beric strategizes the capabilities of the rest of the party to take out the dragon in much the same way that the twins frustrate me at the D&D table. This doesn't fix all their problems, though.
I'm dead! You killed me.
Oops. Does anyone have healing magic?
Yeah.
He did.
Also, despite this being based on Dungeons & Dragons, strangely, they don't turn around and run into a level 1 cleric named Dorian that they instantly befriend for no apparent reason.
Our duty is to Ishmir. The orb comes first. Dorian would have wanted it that way.
Pretty sure he'd have wanted to make that savings throw too, but that's just me. Speaking of the orb, on that completely pointless subplot, Melora figures by fire reveals all, that means they're supposed to burn the book. Most disagree, but eventually they let her go through with it. This reveals a magic cyclone, which further reveals a hidden passage, which further reveals that the hidden shrine was under their feet this entire time. Hidden shrine that holds the secrets to keep the dragon god from destroying the world. No. I read the IGN review. Nothing she does matters. On with the hero's quest, after discovering the hidden entrance to Malik's vault, and besting both the local Renaissance fair and a hallway full of CGI critters that would make the asylum blush, they find a new challenge.
This is Ona, a friend of mine since childhood. She will investigate for us.
Are you sure it's such a good idea to send a lifelong friend that we didn't know about until now forward into an area that is probably a trap?
Poor Ona.
That reminds me, why didn't you say anything? You've been able to detect traps all movie with your spidey sense, and when you come into this most obvious one, you decide not to bring it up to your group of heavy-handed nitwits? After they discover a secret mirror that shows a safe path, they slowly begin their way across. Not marking which tiles are safe or not as they go, of course, so by the time Nim is up to cross, the cheat sheet begins closing. This, of course, means the super nimble master of avoiding traps gets some magic lightning shoved up his ass.
Can you teleport him to a healer?
I have only 2 teleportation spells prepared.
This is a limitation of wizard spellcasting versus sorcerers. While wizards can cast more times per day and know more spells, they must meditate ahead of time to prepare the spells each day. This probably should have been something that they brought up earlier, so non-D&D players aren't left asking, why the fuck doesn't she just prepare another one? No time to dwell on this detail. They have the pool to visualize Damodar's location, so it's time to teleport to the climax and save the world. That could have gone better.
Ishmir's heroes in the flesh. And this is the best you can do.
We have to admit, it's not as bad as the last movie. A few lucky rolls, though, and they disarm Damodar. Literally. Who then just leaves because fuck self-defense. However, because of Ormeline being trapped in the plastic prop, they change plans to teleport to a healer first, and then just hoof it back to Ishmir with the orb. Again, if you're familiar with D&D, you probably already know that losing a limb is just a minor inconvenience. Just get some high-level healing magic, you'll be fine. Which we learned secondhand by witnessing the spell work to replace Damodar's arm. However, I must point out that nowhere in the spell description does it say it will repair your outfit as well. The group is further splintered as after they drop off the Rogan Wizard, Lux covers Beric's escape, fighting off the CGI that followed them there. Thus, he's on his own when he finally reaches Ishmir, orb in hand.
Beric!
Damodar has cursed her.
Which part? The slow change to undeath, or her being completely oblivious to her condition and her husband's wounds? She places the orb in the slot, while telling Beric to place it in the slot, and then something amazing happens that I can't pay attention to as I'm far too distracted by the continuity errors as the editor can't figure out which part of the hug they should be in.
This is what I saw in my vision. The Turanian mages.
Yeah, not enough to keep me from noticing Oberon stealing the orb. Okay, number one, you're in Dungeons & Dragons, so you should know that fireballs have a ton of splash damage. Number two, why did nobody notice him casting it? It has vocal, somatic, and material components. It takes 6 seconds to pull off. No one was able to stop him. Therefore, we get our twist that Oberon was killed and was being impersonated by Klax the Lich for a while now. So the quest is a complete failure, as Demeter ends up with the orb again anyway.
This day, my life begins anew.
What about that day a couple weeks ago when he literally came back from the dead? It was a little more impressive in my book. Despite how they said that the evil dragon god would awaken in the darkness of the night of the new moon, the climax can't wait any longer, so here he comes. On the plus side, he really looks like an honest-to-evil god undead black dragon. On the downside, he could also pass for a PlayStation 3 render.
This Ishmir shall be raised to mark the beginning of my reign. Your tribute will be 100 heads for every new moon in honor of my release.
As you wish, my lord.
3 to 4 decapitations a day. I could do that. So the destruction begins. Or as IGN put it, if we had gotten any actual wrath from the dragon god, then maybe I would have had more fun. Probably not, but maybe. Which to me is confirmation that no, they didn't actually watch the movie. As an undead dragon blowing people the fuck up, yeah, I'd say that counts as a little wrath there. Not to say that there's nothing to complain about, and shitty CGI aside, the Black Dragon is now breathing fire on everyone. Fire. First poison gas and now fire. As Black Dragons breathe acid. And only acid. If you wanted to expand its breath weapon capabilities to include some more fun things, and you could have at least kept the one that they actually have. But in the nick of time, they figure out the key to saving the world.
Dorian told me there was a weapon for good other than magic and steel.
Faith.
Yes.
Oh, sure, but that didn't help Dorian all that much. They also figure out it was the same god Dorian put his faith in, making me wonder how they missed that all this time, and Melora reveals a final test of faith she must endure to save the world. Oh, what am I saying? There's a subplot involving a dying mage, Melora, who is the girlfriend of our hero, Beric, but it's not important. Hey, girlfriend? She's his wife, you dipshits! Ew. That taken care of, she proves herself, and is awarded with a shiny new orb. This one a brighter color, and therefore good. She struggles to seal the dragon, but of course her deadness is kicking in really hard at this point, so Beric remembers, oh yeah, there was that other bad guy we've been talking about all movie. Let's get him! Is she a zombie now too? Apparently not, she's just got the Deus Ex Machina feat. Beric stops her from killing him though, telling her he must live so the curse can be broken on his wife. Well, within his earshot, so when he threatens his life if he doesn't break the curse... Well, between hearing you say that and the fact that the blade is obviously a dull foam prop, are you really that surprised? Oh, wait, he actually complies! Which tells me the player complained enough to the DM to act like Dammar didn't just hear that, and the curse is broken, which obviously results in instantaneous healing, and Melora easily sealing the dragon away once and for a while at least. Sure, the magically suspended spell failed to keep it sealed within a mountain, but now the dragon is at the bottom of a lake. Much more secure. Never mind all that, happy ending! Ormeline got her arm back, no one gives a fuck about Lux, and Melora has been accepted in the Council of Mages. Which is nothing like how a D&D movie should end. I mean, come on, I'm sorry, but if you want this to be truly authentic, you need to show the breakdown and distribution of experience points. Come on, I'm dying to know who gained a level! While Wrath of the Dragon God is a huge step up from the first film, that's not saying much, and indeed, it's still a pretty low-quality film in a lot of ways. But unfortunately, I think that means it was more harshly criticized than it should have been because of its relation to the first movie. I know my job as a critic is to give my opinion, and no matter what I say, someone out there will disagree with me, and that's fine. We all have our own tastes. But when it came to the review I singled out to ridicule during my review, it's not that they disliked aspects of the film that I enjoyed that bothered me. It's the fact that they misrepresented the film that they were supposed to be reviewing. Hell, it's my job to be funny when I review a movie, but I don't go so far as to lie about what happens just to make a joke. When the article states that there was nothing at stake for the entire film, and the writer can't figure out what Demeter's plan is, or even realize that he already has the damn orb, it tells me that whoever reviewed the movie spent 15 minutes fast-forwarding through it, and then wrote about what they assumed it was like. Anyway, now that I spent half this time complaining about IGN, let's dig into the film. It's decent. Sure, the CGI is pretty bad, and the fantasy not all that fantastic, but considering they had a smaller budget than the first and made this one look just about as good, that's commendable. The use of D&D references was smartly done, too. Some things require previous knowledge to understand, but mostly it flows smoothly, informing the audience along the way. The thing I loved about this movie was the characters that make up our group of heroes. They each have distinct personalities, and we even see Lux and Nim's character develop through the story. Maybe a little too fast. They went from at each other's throats to trusted friends so quickly, I was half expecting the movie to end with them getting married. Overall, Dungeons & Dragons Wrath of the Dragon God has the concept of the first film and only half the budget, but because of its much improved focus and direction, it becomes a movie that really earns the right to call itself Dungeons & Dragons. The acting isn't Oscar-worthy, nor the effects better than any other made-for-TV movie out there, but it really feels D&D and is a nice movie to boot, coming in at 3 swearing clerics out of 5. Not 10. It's a high 3. I was tempted to give it a 4 just to spite IGN, but I don't lie to my audience. Well, okay, there were a few times when I didn't quite do as much research as I should have on a few subjects, but yeah, I don't think that really counts. Thank you all for watching. I've been Shado, and remember, the DM says you're gonna die. Roll a d20. That's your savings throw. D6 doesn't do shit.
Poor owner.